Hi, everybody. I'm Deacon Dave.
I'm layperson Lisa.
Welcome to the Deacon Dave and layperson Lisa show. And we are on to episode 28 in the Be Healed book on page 176, talking about the many forms of prayer.
Yeah, so this is kind of a review from our prayer series.
Okay.
So it is the heart that prays. It is the heart that is a place of encounter.
Yeah, and this is a word that maybe we heard in last month's class, but we need to be docile to the Spirit. And we need to let the Spirit lead us. So docile is just this, in my mind, it's this place of receiving, right? Of just being completely open, not in your head, not thinking about what you're going to say, not any of that stuff. Just being present to the Lord so He can be present to you.
Yes, and the Epistle of James says that God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble.
Yeah, listen, we can bask in God's glory. We don't need to impress anyone or get anyone's approval. Right? We can feel valued and accepted, like we said in the last episode, because we're in His presence.
Yes. And sometimes that's a struggle to not care about what other people say because we have like that performance-based mentality.
No.
I know. Shocking.
Yeah. Well, one of the most telling indicators that we have received healing in our body, soul, and our spirit, right, is an increased awareness that we have this new interior freedom.
Yes. Yet we often exercise our freedom in ways that are not true and lasting. And it's part of our broken human condition.
Yeah, I always like to say that St. John Paul II said that, freedom is not doing what you want to do, but doing what you ought to do.
Yes.
And it's very true. That true freedom, that's what brings the greatest possible good for ourselves, which is dignity and purpose.
Yeah, I think sometimes we forget about that, like dignity for ourselves.
Yeah. I mean, you can't find yourself unless you make yourself a sincere gift of self to other people.
Yeah.
And we'll hear about this as well in our Catholic social teaching
month,
as well, right? That the greatest dignity, the greatest way that we find ourselves, the greatest purpose is when we offer ourselves as a gift of self. And watch this, not just to other people, but more importantly back to God, right? Because He's who we should be giving back to first.
Yes.
And so often we skip past the big guy and we go immediately to things that we do for other people because we think service is the answer.
Right.
Intimacy is the answer.
Right.
Gift of self back to God, right? Who is a gift of self in the Trinity, right?
Yes.
That we're called to do the same thing.
Because I think a lot in times in spiritual mentorship, we'll hear like, oh, well, I do this and this and this. Okay, but how's your prayer life? Like, are you spending quality time with God? Well, I pray in the car. Like, okay, that's great. Like, that's praying unceasingly. But are you dedicating time that your only focus is God?
Right, and it's the focus of receiving. It's not the focus of doing a bunch of prayers, but actually just receiving, which you can do while you're reading. You can even do it while you are doing certain prayers, but you just it's intentionally recognizing that you're there to receive.
Yes.
Right. So we've talked a lot about forgiveness, right?
Yes.
And this is a key to much of our healing. And so often it's the very foundation that if we have things that we haven't forgiven, that it could inhibit our ability to be healed.
Yeah. Well, the person who influences the most in our life is the person that we are having trouble forgiving.
Wow. Yeah, we give them a lot more control than they need to have, right?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, and bottom line is forgiving from our heart is good for our health.
Yes. And we cannot shortcut the road to healing either.
Yeah, I think and this is something that I often say about prayer, right? It's God. He knows us perfectly. And He knows what's good for us. So like when we come to Him and we say, well, God, let me lay out the 13 things I have for you, right, in my prayer time. Listen, people, He's God.
He knows.
Okay, and whatever you think your 13 top are, okay, maybe you got them perfectly right. He already knows, okay? And so just being present to Him and letting Him have that time to give you what you need is way more important than you telling Him everything that He already knows.
Right.
Right? And which He may not agree with. Well, that's what you think you need.
Yeah.
But you were so busy telling me what you needed, I didn't get any time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. And so we're called to walk through our difficulties with Jesus because this allows us to experience redemptive suffering.
Yeah, so...
Which we talked about a few episodes ago.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I always hear this from people. I need to work on this.
Oh, yeah.
I'm working on this. And I look at them. I said, you need to change your pronoun. right? You need to say either Jesus is working on it, or you need to say we're working on it.
And we hear that so much in spiritual advisement. Like that's something constantly like who's gonna who.
Right, because if you could have done it, guess what?
Yeah.
Should have already been done by now, right?
Right.
But that's not how it happens.
Right.
So very important.
Yes.
Very good stuff. I'm Deacon Dave.
Emily Person Lisa.
See you next time.
Bye.